part of your Buddhist practice involves mantra accumulation, then it's quite likely you're going to be using something like one of these. We call them tengas in our tradition, which is the Tibetan word. You may know them as a mala or a rosary. And these are like a portable abacus for counting mantras as you accumulate them in your practice. Now, if you are engaged in this sort of practice, then at some point it's inevitable that you're going to need to restring a tenga. And it's nice if you can, when you restring your tenga, you can have one of these nice knots at the end. You might be restringing your tenga with a silk or nylon or cotton thread, or like these with leather. And this knot at the end, I was taught it by a gentleman called Dharmendra, and I will put a link to his site on the post. He taught me how to make these knots. He's very generous in what he teaches us. So I'm going to show you in this video how to make this knot, which is called a Mahakala knot, as far as I know. Now, obviously, if you're restringing a tenga, you're going to have a single string of thread that goes the length of the tenga. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm actually going to use two threads of different colours, a black one and a white one, because it will be much easier for you to see what I'm doing while I make the knot. So you have to imagine that the tenga is down here somewhere, and this is where I'm going to begin my knot. You want these to start off at about the same length, because then it's easier to know which one is your longer one and which is your shorter one as you go. Now, starting the knot is probably the most difficult part. Once you've got it going, you'll find it's pretty simple. I always start my knot with the tenga quite tight, because I find that whatever material or thread I'm using for restringing my tenga, it always goes loose after a certain length of time. So I'd rather have my tenga a bit tight to start with, and then when it loosens, it's about right. So I've adjusted these so that they are more exactly the same length. Now, starting the knot is the most difficult part of this knot. So imagine your tenga down here. First of all, you need to start with your threads held out in front of you and holding them between finger and thumb. So I've got my white thread on the outer edge on the right and my black going straight down. So first of all, you take the white and you put it through that gap between finger and thumb. And you pull it through until you have a loop above your finger. And then you make sure that the thread going out to the side is tucked underneath your thumb and held tightly there. I'll just do that again. You take the end of the white or the right thread, put it down through that gap, bring it round, leave it as a loop, and then tuck that underneath your thumb so that it's held tightly. I'll just take it off my fingers and do that with it flat on the surface. the right thread is going to go over and then under both threads to form a loop. So you have a loop that is above the two threads, and this piece has gone underneath. And you are going to hold it exactly there to keep it in position. So if I just pick this up, I am holding that there. And I'm holding it a little way down my finger so the end of my finger is available. Leaving the white one out to the side, I'm now going to pick up the black and bring it towards me and take it through my loop, over my finger and through the loop. So the loop is above and the black thread has gone through the loop and sits next to itself. So you have created a new loop round your finger. Then again, keeping things tightly held under your thumb, you pull that right thread, the white one, tight so that it goes right, makes a knot over the top of the black. I'll just do that again. The white goes through that gap, comes round and is held tightly underneath. Then the black comes round your finger and to the right of these, so it's to the right of that, through the loop, and then it lies against the other one on your index finger. You then pull the white out to the side to create a knot on top of all the threads. You then, so that's your first knot completed. Now this black that is going round your finger, that is going to become the new loop that pulls into the knot. So now we need to take this off. I'm going to loosen that by just pulling it at the back. Take this off your finger and turn it to the outside and then hold the knot again. Just show you that again. Take it off your finger and turn it so that you've now got your white on that side and your black on that side, and this comes out to the side and that goes to the front, so they've swapped positions. Now got a black loop on top and that thread goes out to the side. So now we do exactly the same again. We bring the white forward towards you. You take it through the black loop and you hold it so that they're resting beside each other. This needs to be on the right of that thread. You then pull your black loop tight onto the threads. I loosen it by pulling it slightly at the back, and then I pick it off my fingers, turning it to the outside, and hold the knot again between my finger and thumb. This will twist, so you'll have to keep turning that part. So now I've got a loop, and these have swapped places. So this is going to come out to the side, that's going to go to the front. I now pick up the black, take it through my loop, Make sure it's resting nicely next to the other one on the outside. Got my loop on top, and then you pull the knot tight onto all the rest. And at this point you can just adjust it, make sure that they're lying next to each other. I loosen my loop to get it off my finger more easily just by pulling it at the back. I turn it over to the outside, so these have swapped positions. Untwist this. So now that one goes out to the side and that one goes in front. This is going to be the next knot. I bring the white towards me, take it through the loop and hold it so that they're lying next to each other. This is on the outside. Then I pull the black to make a tight knot on top of the threads, and they're lying nicely next to each other. I loosen the white at the back, take it off my finger, turning it that way, hold the knot again, and so these have swapped positions again. This comes out to the side, that goes to the front. And again, bring the black towards me, take it through the loop, let them rest beside each other. This is on the outside, and then tighten the knot onto the threads, put it nice and tight, and they should be lying in a line. I loosen the black off my finger at the back, turn it over towards the outside. These have swapped places. That goes out to the side. Nope, I did that wrong. That goes out to the side, and this goes to the front. The one out to the side is always the one that you've got the loop. When you're doing this and you haven't got two colours to help you, you can always check you've got the right one out to the side in two ways. One is that it will pull. The loop will pull because it's going to make the next knot. And the other is that the one you're going to thread round to make the next loop will always be the longer thread. So that will be the one that's at the front, and the shorter one will be at the side and the loop. So that's why it was important to have them the same length at the beginning. So the longer one is at the front, the shorter one is at the side because it's got the loop. Bring the yarn towards me, take it through, make sure it's resting neatly by the other one on the outside, and then pull the one to the right tightly onto the others and make sure they're resting in a line. Loosen the loop at the back, take it off my fingers in that direction. So now my loop is white, so that one has to go to the side. You can see it's the shorter one, and the longer one goes to the back. Bring it round through the loop, rest next to each other, and then tighten the loop to make the knot. Loosen it at the back, take it off to the outside. It's the next loop. So you just keep repeating that as many times as you want to make the knot as long as you wish it to be. One more. I think I began with the white, so we'll finish with the black. So then I take it off my finger for the last time and just pull the black loop closed to finish the knot. Sometimes it might have a bit of a twist in it and not look quite right, so you can just fiddle with it to get it straight, so that you have your row of knots that side and your row of knots that side. So that is the completed Mahakala knot. Now, when you're making a tenga for real, you're obviously going to have a single thread that you've threaded all the beads of your tenga onto. And so you can't easily identify which thread is which. So something you could do, just to make it a little bit easier, is put a little bit of tape on the end of one of your threads. So then you've got the equivalent of knowing which is your white thread and which is your black thread, because one of them has got this tape on it. So I'm going to start with that one on the left. So that's the one with the tape is going to be the one that goes round. And I'm going to start my first loop with the one without the tape. Take it round, make my loop. And so the one with the tape is going to do the going through. Pull it tight. So I know that the one with the tape was the one that went through. So that is the one that's made the loop. So when I take it off my finger, to make sure you hold it, you don't lose your knot at this point. I know that the one with the tape is now got to go out to the side. And the one without the tape is the one that's going round and through. Nicely next to each other, pull the knot tight. Once you've got your second loop tightened, the knot's stable and it's easy from then on. It's just a little bit tricky with that first one, keeping it tight until you've got the second one on. Make sure they're beside each other. So having your one with a bit of tape on, you can just always check, right, I know tape needs to be at the front this time. You can just use that as a aid to get the knot correct. See how this twists, so you have to keep turning that. So that's just an idea that perhaps might help a little bit in making your knot and not getting confused about which one is the one that's going round the finger and which one's creating the loop or is the loop. So once you get good at these, they don't take very long to make. It's just a repetitive process. Just keep going with that. And run up thread. So there we are. And untwist it. So there's my knot. So that's just an idea to assist when you're doing it for real with a tenga and you've just got the single thread.